let's start.
That etymology is like changes.
The word beautiful.
That's where the interesting stuff begins.
Homophones, there are some differences in the written form.
I don't understand anything.
I do not understand it, the Firth and Saussure series.
So greetings to everyone who's watching our podcast, and thank you for spending your precious time to stay and listen here with us. So, in today's podcast, Anna, Marzhan, and me, Dauletkerey, are going to go through and sum up all the main points that we've discussed from lecture 1 to the 6th one. So, yeah, right, girls?
Right.
Not that we had any choice, but here we are. So, let's start. So, etymology. What do we know about etymology?
So I know that etymology studies the origin of word. The main purpose of it is to identify the history and the origin of like every word in every language. But we will discuss about English language etymology today.
So I also think that etymology is like changes of lexicon of vocabulary of the like specific language that that we're talking about. So also etymology is about borrowed and native elements of the language. So
For example, the borrowed ones, right? The
Yeah.
borrowed ones are the words that are taken from another language, the specific language, but which were modified according to the pattern of the language that it takes from another one, right?
For example, like English language, they borrowed most of their words from Greek, Latin, French, and German languages. And also, I just heard an interesting fact about that. Is that English languages lexicology, like the 70% of it was borrowed from other languages. So, and also, I think that this borrowing from other languages and changing the meaning is kind of interesting.
I have an example. Like, for example, at the lecture, I heard one example about the word meat. The word meat meant, in the ancient times, it meant everything that you eat, everything that people considered as food, like, for example, milk, bread, and any other stuff. But today, nowadays, this particular term is used to describe an animal flesh.
Yes.
So it's an example of narrowing, right?
Yeah.
I have actually an example that is opposite to yours. It's like narrowing the meaning. So meat meant all of the food, but now it's just animal flesh. But I have an example of broadening the meaning. So the Russian word "okolitsa" meant just the place near the church. So now this word, we all know this, is just word okolo, and it means near. So near everything. So like.
So at the end of the lecture, there are things like Latin subgroups loans.
Mm-hmm.
Like the first one is the early Latin subgroups.
Yes.
The kitchen, cup, and etc. The second one is
Later.
later.
Latin.
The later one includes words like bishop, priest, nun, and all the church stuff.
Yes.
The third one is about like logical, right?
Yeah.
It includes words like nature, minor, intelligent, and other stuff.
And the last one is the latest. It includes words like vaccine, vacuum, and
Molecular,
yeah.
everything scientific.
Yeah,
right?
everything new.
Goody. Now let's talk about morphemes. What do we know about morphemes, girls?
Morphemes, they're divided in two parts. The first one is semantics, the second one is structural point. So semantics itself divided into two. So the first one is root, the second one is affixes. So root is the meaning of words. The affix, it's a non-root morpheme that sometimes can change the word's meaning.
Also, I think that we have here the two types of morpheme according to their function. So we have derivational and we have inflectional or functional ones. So inflectional, they just show the amount of the subjects, maybe possessiveness, also the time of a verb. And derivational one, they can help us to form new part of speeches. So for example, we have happy as an adjective, and we have the morpheme, derivational morpheme in S. So we have happiness as a new word, as a noun. So from this term, we can also
divide stems?
Yeah, divide and describe stems, the type of stems. So stem is actually the the root and derivational morpheme of a word, so without any functional ones. Here we have, like, for example, tree. Read is just simple ones, simple stems. So then derived stems is, for example, governments, happiness, joyful, and compound stems. Here we have, for example, Snow White.
Two simple stems.
Two simple or derived stems can be here, so in a compound one.
What if we talk about like affixation? So we know that affixation is a process where certain affixes are combined to a word that has meaning, and it can also like create a new meaning, and it also can change the grammatical category of a certain word. Like we can,
like for example, the word honest. It means like the person who never lies. If we add affix this, it would be dishonest. So
it's prefix, right?
Prefix.
But yeah, dishonest.
Affix. Oh my god!
No, it's okay.
Confused. Like for example, I know one example. Like the word beautiful. It's a noun, but if we add the prefix, the word beauty is a noun. If we add the prefix full, we create a new word that is adjective. Like beautiful.
From the noun to adjective.
To adjective, yeah. That describe the person's appearance.
Like if we take, for example, the word like verb fast, or I don't know, like happy. We can change the word's category from happy to happily, right?
Yes.
For the affixation, so it turns from noun to adverb. Right.
Yeah. Also, like verb forming, we have here, like for example, fast, fasten. So then noun form also exists, like as I said before, like happy, happiness. Also helps us to like form the new part of speeches. So noun, adjective, verb, and adverb can be formed here.
Good.
Alrighty then. Now, phraseological unit. What do we know about phraseological unit? We know that phraseologisms are utterances that people use to express their feelings and emotions in a very unusual way, very expressive way. So, for example, you can consider like idioms as phraseological units, yeah?
I know that idioms, they are fixed expression that can mean something different to a little meaning of its word. Also, Wolf, he has mentioned that idioms, they can change both lexically and syntactically, so it means that idioms are not fixed expressions, they are flexible and they can change. Also, idioms, they divided into two parts. The first one is
like complete.
Yeah.
Complete meaning and partially transferred meaning. Like for example, to understand this better, let's take one person, like one example, right? Let's take, for example, Jake. Jake heard an utterance that is like kill two birds with one stone. Jake can logically understand that the meaning of it is that by doing one act, he can gain double benefit from it. However, when he hears certain idioms like, for example, pull someone's leg, he'll be just like, I don't understand anything. Like that.
Also, I think that one of the phraseological units is also proverbs. So proverbs, they're actually they're based on human experience, so like collective community experience. Also, they grammatically they can be divided into some parts, into some types. So for example, imperative positive and imperative negative, they're both like can say you what you should or
can
what
tell
you
what to do.
Yes. Like do something or do not do.
Do not do something.
Yes. Declarative sentences, they're just facts or like
statements.
Statements, short like concrete statement about something. Also, there are like questions.
Rhetorical questions.
Rhetorical questions. And the last one can be the
parallel
statements. Yeah, they're like proverbs with antonyms, like antonyms, phrases that like
can be like with complete different
meaning. Yes.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Yes.
Yeah, so
like this.
Something sort of like that. So as you can see here, we changed the location. It's pretty foggy outside, pretty cold. Yeah, we hoped that it'll be a sunny day, but however, you can see that we're pretty lucky here. So let's talk about lexicography here.
So lexicography is everything about dictionaries, and it's divided into two parts. The first one is theoretical, the second one is practical.
So the practical one is actually the compilation of dictionaries that were published, and the theoretical one is actually about relations between words in any language. In our case is English.
So did you know that the first bilingual dictionary was created in the 15th century, and they were Anglo-French, Anglo-German, and Anglo-Latin. And also unilingual dictionaries, they were created in the 17th century.
That like provides a certain explanation for the certain words, like
Yeah, it's like facts.
And the next one is bilingual. Well, as you can understand, the translation stuff and etc. The last one is special, which include phraseological, if I remember correctly, like etymological, synonymic, and etc.
So they also, how I know, they were published in 18th century.
Anything to add? Like I remember like the arrangement types of the dictionaries, for example, the alphabetical order, the cluster type order. The alphabetical type is obviously when you divide all the words by the first letter of the word. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
And the next one is cluster type, when certain words that have the same roots are combined together in order for us to show their relationship between each other, like how they're connected. Anything to add? Like.
Also, there are stages of dictionary work, and the first one is entries of setting. And the selection of lexical units for inclusion, then the selection and arrangement of word meanings.
Also, then you have to prepare the supplementary material, then like the resultative settings of the entries. Then you have to get the definition of words, which is completed with some sort of like illustrative material.
Like visual aids.
Yeah.
So, Monsieur, Saussure, and Firth, that's where the interesting stuff begins, right? So they're pretty alike. Any kind of ideas about them?
Actually, when we discussed it in the class, my friend always said that I do not understand the Firth and Saussure series at all.
It's not that hard. For example, the Saussure theory is based on learning language and the lexicon. The whole lexicon based on the experience, on human experience. For example, I can say that all of us, we learned any languages, even our native one, based on the Saussure's theory.
As I understood, the first one is actually about like it cannot be described as a like cognitive system of reaction. It's like in the moment, your reaction in the moment.
So it's first theory, yes?
Yes.
Contextual theory of meaning. Like, I remember that she told us, like Balnor teacher told us the experience of a friend, like when she took a train to a certain city, I don't remember, but then she stayed on the Platskart, as they call it. So she didn't know the term Platskart before she got onto that train. So what does it mean? Like, is it context? Like, I think it's context, like contextual theory of.
But it can be experienced too. Like,
I mean, in the moment, like right now, I don't know that word, Platskart, and then I'm finding it out, and it's like first theory in the moment, in the context.
Like when you just learn a certain word, right? Like in the moment, in the momentum, it becomes the context.
Yes.
Like you're involved in the certain context right now. But then, I think that, like for example, it's very confusing, right?
Yeah.
You learn a certain word, and then it just gets into your, how can you say, capacity in your storage as an experience.
Yeah.
So it also can be the Saussure's theory.
So, in the first moments, it's like a moment, and then
it's experience.
Over time, it's your experience, and you know this word from your experience because it's like social interaction between the people. When you know that word, when you find it out. I mean, this friend, he found it out like from people, from social interaction. That is experience, but it happens in the one moment. That is like context of the social interaction.
Yeah, so it proves us that they are very like similar. So it can be sometimes.
Let's leave it at that. Okie dokie. So we're going to talk about the last thing on our list. Let's start from the homonyms. Homonyms, as we know, are the words that, for example, sound the same but has different meanings, right?
Yeah. And there are also some types of them. So to differentiate it, we have some perfect homonyms. They actually sounds similar and are written similar. For example, back, like part of the body, also opposite from the front, and as a part of the phrasal verb, like go back, for example. So we have the perfect ones. Then homographs, they are written like grapho, like right. They are written.
They're visually,
like they're similar. For example, lead and lead, but their sounds kind of like
different.
Yeah, some differences here. And homophones, there are some differences in the written form, but they sound completely similar. So, for example, by B-U-Y and by B-Y, it's a homophones.
Or like B. So, like in B, we can say like B with two W and B with one E. Like they sound like similar but written different. As an example.
Yeah.
Anything more to add? Oh, actually, I have something to add. Like, teacher told us something about systematic approach of the learning the language. For example, the vocabulary, expanding your vocabulary. For example, as the time goes on, we adapt to a certain language. We start to think more critically. We start to gain more knowledge about a certain language. And when a student or a learner advances in his knowledge in terms of the particular, in terms of the foreign language, many people say that they have to learn new words in a systematic approach. What this means that, like, for example, a systematic approach can implement by themselves, like, for example, learning the new word, not just by learning it by heart. For example, it means like giving it definition for it, using it as an example, and, for example, practically using it, for example, in your personal life or in the class itself.
Also, as I know, there are some. You should actually, when you use systematic approach, you also have to take into account the inflectional and derivational like processes. that were like
happy, happiness.
Yes, like happy, happiness, and so on. Joy, joyful, not just joy as a word, as a one word.
Every possible meaning.
Yes, parts of speeches, meanings, forms is also like
included.
Yes.
Okie dokie. So finally, we're at the end of our podcast. Let us sum up all the points that we've covered so far. Like the first one is etymology. What can we talk about etymology?
Etymology is regions. So
origins of the words.
We have borrowed the native ones. Also, we can conclude that etymology is not only just about like history of words, but also how they change through time. Yeah. So
also, we learned a lot of borrowed words that we use in our everyday life.
Like for example, like Latin subgroups, right? Like vaccine, molecular, everything scientific.
Yes,
right?
that we use.
Next one. The next one is, if I'm not mistaken, morphemes. Morphemes. So what can we say about morphemes?
So morphemes are inflectional and derivational, and from that point of view, we can conclude that with the help of understanding of some types of morphemes, we can easily understand the structure of language, structure of words, and it can be benefit for us to like form new words, new parts of speeches, some sort of new forms of words.
Change the grammatical forms of the certain word, right?
Yes.
Do you have something to add?
So also, if we talk about grammatical structure of the word, we can use our like abilities to like divide the words like in root, like suffixes, and then we use like one root, for example, noun root, like, and also we add the adjective forming suffix to the noun root, and we create a whole new word which would be adjective. And that's the same thing, like same like process with other grammatical like changes. Yes.
The third one we have phraseological units. We use them to express our emotions and feelings in a very picturesque way. So they're divided into idioms and proverbs, which can also have like
how transfers,
completely transferred, partially transferred meaning. Partially is when you understand at least something. You can logically understand something, but in a complete you can't understand the whole meaning of a certain utterance.
Yes.
The fourth one is dictionaries. Yeah. So, what can we say about that?
Systematic approach. Here. Oh no, not here.
I mean, like during this like a topic about dictionaries, we learned that dictionaries can be they can divide it into lexical and semantical.
Lexical. All right, let's leave it at that. Like for example, like dictionaries have like two types of arrangements. Do you know them?
Like bilingual dictionaries and unilingual dictionaries.
Yeah, my mistake. And there's also the third one, the special ones, which include phraseological and etc.
Yeah.
And there are two types of arrangements as well, like cluster type, alphabetical order, and etc. and etc. etc. Let's go to the next one, the fifth one. Saussure and Firth. Saussure and Firth.
Our favorite.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what kind of... They both tell that language is a result of social behavior, like communicating with other people.
I think it's some sort of like summing up, because as a result we cannot... I mean, we can clearly tell if we are going to stick to one of them, but in the like social life and social interaction types, we cannot clearly like divide them from one each other.
No.
Like
they're connected, they're internally connected. So the last topic is about homonyms and etc. So anything to add, anything to tell?
Yeah, we learned that there are like different types of homonyms, like lexical, grammatical, homophorms, and paronyms.
Homonyms are divided into three
parts.
Perfect homonyms,
homographs and homophones. Yes.
And the systematic approach as well. Like when you learn a word, when you learn a certain word by giving definition, like finding the definition and using it in your daily life or in communicating with someone.
Yes.
So yeah, that's it. That's the summing up of our podcast. We're very happy to end it.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching and listening. Goodbye.